Sure. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Morning. I'm Jenny Castleberry, proud member of Althea, and your mistress of ceremonies today. And today I'm sporting a t-shirt from my daughter's school. Happens to be an all-girls school, part of Denver Public Schools. It's called Gals. It's just blocks from here. If you want to know more, talking about. So thank you, Rick Stan, for the beautiful music. I would remind folks, go ahead and turn off your cell phones or silence them if you haven't already. And let's be sure to clap extra loud today. I think folks can tell that we're getting to that place of last-minute vacations, wrapping things up. We're a little light today, but that's okay because we're going to make up for it in our own energy, right? We have a couple of amazing themes today. Chris Parente, who you'll hear more about when I introduce him, is going to be speaking today about the good and bad news, right? That we can find the good and bad news. And he also pointed out, when he and I were talking about his speaking today, that it's a day to commemorate the Navajo code talkers from World War II. They played a big part in that. My grandfather was in World War II, and he talked to me about that many years ago. So you're going to learn a little bit about what that legacy is as well. And when we talk about legacies, one of the things that's important to us is what we call a land acknowledgement. We want to acknowledge the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, and the Ute peoples. This is their indigenous land that we are currently residing on. And it is important for us to name it for the people whose lives matter. Their legacy matters, who they are, who they were, and who they continue to be. And this place is sacred because of them. It's made more holy by the land that's underneath us. And to ensure that this isn't just a statement that a lot of people say, Althea is committed to partnering with groups, giving them space in this building to do work in indigenous communities. And so Spirit of the Sun is a proud partner of ours here in this building. And just to give you a little bit of background of what they do, they work through community activism, programming, and education to make a difference for indigenous communities, one youth at a time, Spirit of the Sun. And we also have a new acknowledgement that we want to talk about. We have had some facilitation and training and even some folks up speaking about the need for more diversity at Althea. And when we say diversity, we mean all types, including people of color, including abilities, including age. Because we recognize that most of the faces who come here are white and have been for a really long time. And they tend to skew to a certain demographic of age as well. And we want to recognize and name that. We are very proud that we have a large number of LGBTQ+ folks, that we are creating space that's welcoming to all folks, but we need it to be more welcoming. And so we want to acknowledge that, and we want to name it. We want to say out loud that institutional racism is real, implicit and unconscious biases are real. It's important for folks to hear us say these things. And we know that this is the lived experience of our neighbors of color, people with diverse abilities, and other groups that don't have the same privileges as many people in our cultures. So we just want to name that, and we ask very much for your participation in making Althea more diverse and a place of deep belonging. In the spirit of welcoming, we want to welcome people for whom this is the first time you have ever been at Althea. Anybody a first-timer? It's okay to raise your hand. We'll just, embarrass you a teeny tiny bit. I see some hands that are half raising. All we're going to do is give you a flower and say that we are so glad you're here and you get a free lunch. So you most definitely want to identify as new. Anyone else upstairs? Okay. I'll make sure they all get. Is that everybody? All right. Okay. If for some reason we missed you, we'll get you that flower afterwards. We will have many announcements at the end because we have some really fun, cool, new things that are happening, not just today at Althea, but this week and this month. And at the end of service, we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. But what I'd like to do is have folks settle in and relax as we get ready to move in to the spiritual side of our service. And so I'm going to have actually 4 different folks who are going to be part of this first part of the process, but I want to go ahead and mention their names now so they can just come on up without a formal introduction by me. We're going to have an opening prayer by Mike Carter, who's one of our prayer partners. That will be followed by Anna Julia Rose, who is going to recite our statement of being that is on your program, so you'll get to be a part of that, and it'll be up here. And she's also going to help us sing The Face of God, which is a song that we sing every Sunday. And then, before we, actually, did I say 1, 2, 3, 4? I have 5 people, right? I can't count. Luis Parente-Rios is going to be our first reader. He's going to tell you a little bit about the nominated co-talkers. And then our featured musician will come up, but I am going to introduce Evan right before he comes, because I've got a nice intro for our very special musician today. So Mike, Anna, and Luis, I'll let you all take it away.
So, as we begin to pray, let us move into the space of silence, the space of peace, and breathe deeply. And we call upon the Great Spirit to be in our consciousness now as we move from our heads to our hearts. And we give thanks for this day. We give thanks for coming together at Althea and sharing so that we might grow in love and wisdom. And we hold in consciousness the omnipresence of God and the omnipresence of good. And we trade our fear and our anxiety for love. Love of self, love of our uniqueness, our individuality, and even our imperfections. And when we come to know ourselves, we know that we are one with each other, with our community, with humanity, and with the Creator. And so when the world looks to be in chaos, we come back to ourselves and we realize that the power within us is greater than anything on the outside. And so for this knowledge and these blessings, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. That was beautiful. Okay, please stand as you're able, and we're going to recite Althea's statement of being. God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God, and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. Okay, we're going to sing. You are the face of love. Thank you. I love you all.
Good morning. So as Jenny mentioned, today is National Navajo Code Talkers Day. And as some of you know, I'm a first grade teacher, and one of my favorite things to do in the classroom is read stories to kids. There's actually a beautiful picture book called Chester Nez and the Unbreakable Code, a Navajo Code Talker story. I'll only read you snippets, but this is probably easy to find on Amazon if you would like to hear the whole story. This is only one story of many stories of the Code Talkers. So keep that in mind. It starts in October 1929. When Batobi was 8 years old, the time came for him to go to boarding school. He had to leave his family, his home, and the goats and sheep he loved and took care of. He climbed into the back of the missionary's truck. "You need an English name," the missionary said. Batobi's name was Navajo, like he was. "You will be Chester," the man said. At Fort Defiance School, the matrons shaved off Chester's long hair and gave him a blue uniform to wear. They made him use English, a language he never spoke in, and when Chester spoke Navajo, the matrons washed out his mouth with yellow soap. "Navajo is bad, speak only English." You should this illustration because it's pretty awesome. You can see that more. Okay, so that is the school that he grew up in, and about many years later, once he was in junior high, in high school, in his junior year, this is what happened. Recruiters from the U.S. Marine Corps came to the reservation. "We need Navajo men who speak English and Navajo," they said. The U.S. military needed a new way to send its secret messages. The messages were sent in code over the radio, but since anyone's radio could receive those messages, the enemy could hear them too. The Japanese had broken every American code. The Marines tried using a coding machine, the shackle, to create an unbreakable code, but the machine took too long to encode and decode messages. Then a former Army soldier, missionary's son, who had once lived on the Navajo reservation, suggested using Navajo, a language almost impossible for non-Navajos to speak. The Marines agreed to try it. Many Navajos volunteered to join the Marines, but only 29 were chosen, including Chester. They became platoon 382. Suddenly, the language he had been told to forget was important. Chester was proud he had never given up speaking Navajo. That's a snippet of the story, and one story of like 29, or almost 30 Navajo speakers. So may we honor them today, remembering the value of our language and the value of our being. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luis. Our featured musician is Evan DeLong. Evan is a professional violinist based in Denver. He's originally from Los Angeles. He received his undergraduate degree in violin performance from Indiana University and his master's degree at the University of Denver. Evan maintains a busy freelance career with a large studio of private violin and piano students, so if you're looking for a teacher, he's your man, as well as several positions in orchestras across the region. He is the principal's second violinist for the Colorado Springs Philharmonic, has a position with the Boulder Philharmonic, and plays regularly as a substitute violinist for the Colorado Symphony. Please help me welcome Evan DeLong.
You guys hear me through this mic? So this is my second time here. Thanks for having me back. I'm really excited to be back here to play for you all again. So I was thinking a little bit about the theme today, finding the good in bad news. And back March of 2020, everybody knows what happened then. But for performers like myself, that was a pretty difficult time because at that point I had just taken performing and doing things like this kind of for granted. And of course, that was the best, the safest thing to live performances and everything, but it was still pretty difficult. So I sort of picked my repertoire today, sort of having this first piece be a little bit more somber and reflective, but still hopeful. And then the second piece after the message is a bit more joyful and celebratory. So this first piece is by J.S. Bach, and it is the Adagio from his first violin sonata.
celebrating our 100th year in this building. And I like to think that music like that is just soaked into the walls and the ceiling of this place. And the women who founded it, because it was 4 women who founded Althea under a different name more than 100 years ago, are smiling. Probably sitting up in the balcony. Sorry. And soaking it up. And our hope and belief is that we will be here 100 years from now, so that more amazing music can be soaked up by these walls. So thank you so much, Evan. Before I invite our illustrious speaker, I want to tell you a little bit about Chris. Besides being a super fan of Althea, he and his husband, Elise. Chris has spent 30 years as a broadcast news anchor. His work in television has garnered 7 regional Emmy Awards for excellence. He worked in TV markets across the Midwest, moving to Colorado in 2006. He says if you're up early, you can catch him on KWGN Channel 2, where he serves as the primary anchor of the 5-hour Causa daybreak morning show. This man has some energy and caffeine, I guess, a big part of your life. But for nearly as long as his television career, he has been a spiritual seeker. He was raised Catholic, as many of our folks were, folks who come to Althea. Chris discovered the beauty of Lakota Sioux spirituality as a young man, and those principles guide him still. He has studied both Tibetan Buddhism, Namchak, and Won Buddhism, the Kabbalah, shamanism, and most recently completed a year-long workshop and a course in miracles, which is also something many of our folks are fans of. While interviewing hundreds of celebrities, politicians, and folks next door, his career and spirit paths often cross, most notably in his interviews with Pope John Paul II and His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Chris sees God reflected in everything, but most clearly in the love he shares for his husband, 2 years. He just got me. With his message, let me pull it together. That's right. I see you get so teary-eyed up here, so don't even. I'm just kidding. With his message entitled, "This Just In, Finding the Good in Bad News, Reflections from a TV News Anchor," please help me welcome Chris Parente-Rios.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's a joyous Sunday. I want to start by saying, before I do anything else, I want to lift the spirit of Chester and all the Navajo. I got teary-eyed. Every time I hear the story, I get teary-eyed. These Navajo saved America. And they did it using a language we had tried to beat out of them. They're heroes. And I honor their spirits today. Now, listen, I feel a little pressure today because, when Oprah Winfrey comes to speak, she gives everybody what? A new car! You get a car! And I'm going to talk Oprah right now and help my husband. Man, today, you get a card. And you get a card. And help me out here, Louis. You get a card. We're going to hand out cards to everybody who's come today. These, by the way, are my own spirit cards, affirmations I've used for years. Every morning I wake up, I read one of these. And much of my talk today will be informed by the untethered soul, which is what these cards are based on. They are my gift to you. And they are a message from the universe intended directly for you. You can read it whenever you like. There you go. And unlike Oprah, you don't have to pay taxes on these cards. And to you, your beautiful music, thank you. Wasn't this music epic? Make some noise for Evan. Who had that card? You get one card? And welcome your first timer. I'd love to hear. Does everybody have a card?
Upstairs, we got you.
Do I have to throw them up there? Hey, Louise, would you mind going upstairs? Thank you, Daryl. You're a hero. Anyway, Ironically enough, the card I picked this morning could really summarize my whole talk without me saying anything else. And this is the card, the last card I'll ever pick, because I've given them away. It says, enthusiasm, joy, and love. If you can feel that all the time, then who cares what happens outside? Right? I'm not a guru, I'm not a priest, I'm not a shaman, I'm just a dude who's been on TV news for 30 years. And who also, as was mentioned, has been on a spiritual journey for 30 years. And I'm hoping today I can maybe talk a bit about how those two worlds fit together. How can I be on the news 5 hours a day and still be a spiritual person? And maybe I hope there's a lesson in it for you and maybe for Althea as a congregation. That's my hope. So let's start out by just asking, just shout out a news headline that you've come across lately. What's in the news these days? Just go ahead and shout it out.
Ukraine. FBI.
The FBI raid into the president and criminal. What else?
Ukraine.
The terrible war in Ukraine. What else?
The remodeling of Pasadena.
The remodeling of Pasadena. It's a light in the darkness, sir. COVID, monkeypox, the recession, murder, crime, fire, right? I mean, I woke up this morning, honestly, and I thought, I found some good news. There's this wonderful walrus in Norway named Freya, and they love this walrus so, this is true, by the way. They love this walrus so much. Oh, I found the good news. They killed her. They killed Freya. They killed her today because people were getting too close and loving on her too much. It was a danger to the people. You can't make this up. The news that I read, the news that you read, is largely crap news. Let's be honest. Not spiritual stuff. It's not spiritual stuff. The number one complaint I get when I ask people, hey, do you watch things? Nope. Depressing. That's what I get. It's depressing. Debbie Downer. Oh, it's apocalyptic. This is what I hear when people talk to me about the news. So how then does a guy who reads this 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 30 years, come to you as a happy person? I'm a genuinely happy person. Joyous, grateful. I have my moments, but by and large, I am a happy human being. And I'm doing it all the while in the context of news. So here it is. What I consider to be the big headline, this just in, the exclusive, the scoop. What I have found as a person in news for 30 years is that my way of being is infinitely more important than anything I say, anything I do, anything that I create, anything that I encounter. My way of being. Okay, I try to choose a way of being that is of happiness, regardless of whatever's going on outside of it. Less on the doing, more on the being. More on the being. In fact, I was coming across Facebook, which is another thing you could say is full of bad stuff, right? But I found a gem this morning on Facebook from a gentleman named Papaji, who was a sage, an Indian sage, early 20th century. He says, becoming is effort. Being is no effort. You are always my favorite part. So be like the breeze that is attached to neither the garbage or the garden it's blowing over. Be like the breeze that is attached to neither the garbage or the garden. Your way of being can be independent of what you're encountering every day. And that's really how I view my career, as an experiment of, if I'm on the news and I'm reading you a story, could just my way of being impact you, lift spirit, right? Without changing the words, by the way. I cannot go into my news scripts and alter a story or delete a story that's too negative or change the stories I'm reading. That would be unethical. And the cool part is I found it's not necessary. All I get to focus on is my way of being. And interestingly enough, to talk about an experiment, I do have a few awards on my wall, that's fine. But what I love more than anything else are the emails I get from my viewers. And I get a lot of them. Almost all of them say the same thing to me. Keep in mind, I'm reading 5 hours of crap news a day. I'm not changing my scripts. I'm not giving messages from Althea out to people. I should. I'm just focused on who am I as a being? What vibe am I sending out to the universe? The people who write me say the same thing. Thank you. Oh my God, you suffered. I woke up with you. I feel better now. I get these too often to ignore. I just, somehow I left the house, I feel better. And most of the people who write are writing from a hospital bed or rehab. They're sick. They're in need of healing. And somehow, just my way of being is touching them. Isn't that cool? That's not me. That's not my ego talking. That's just a choice I've made to try to be from a place of happiness or joy, peace, whatever it is for you, whatever your way of being is. I guess what I'm saying is, it has an impact. It has an impact. That is how I have learned to navigate the world of news alongside my spiritual journey. I don't need to change the world. Course in Miracles would teach us the world's an illusion anyway. What I got to focus on is what am I being out in to the world. For those of you who are Christian, we all know what it takes to move a mountain, right? You don't form a mountain moving committee. You don't do anything out in the world. A mustard seed of faith, which is in here, the Bible would say is all it takes to move mountains. And my little experiment, my little career has proven out the same thing. I can impact lives, I can raise energy just simply with whatever mustard seed I have inside of me that is nurtured. I have also had great joy in an experiment, not just me giving the news, but I've been able to interview a lot of people, which is a great way to also experiment. Hundreds of celebrities and politicians and leaders over my 30 years, and I'll bet you all have the same experience, right? If you walk in a room with somebody, ooh, I don't feel that. I'm feeling off. Or, wow, this feels like a warm bath. Tom Cruise, Elton John, Cher, you name it. I've interviewed most of them, and I've noticed consistently, the minute I walk in a room, I am impacted by their way of being. Their way of being, before they say a word. It's just my experiment, but it's sure been my experience. One of the folks I just mentioned, I was lucky enough to talk to was the Dalai Lama. When I was like 25, I was an idiot. But I knew I had something special. I could talk to Dalai Lama. Woo, Dalai Lama! And I walked in and I think I asked him, okay, Dalai Lama, what can Americans do? What can we do to better connect with spirituality? By the way, the Dalai Lama, his vibe hits you like a ton of joy. He smiled, he's always smiling, you know that. And he said, do nothing. Do nothing is what the Dalai Lama told me as a kid in Indiana. Do nothing, be compassionate. I didn't know at the time how right he was. And I'm not trying trying to diminish the work we have to do in the world. We have a lot of work to do, but less on the doing, more on the being. And I have to wonder if we took that approach with Althea, right? Our way of being. Could we fill this congregation? I think we could. I think we will. Not by going out and convincing people come on in or taking out ads in the Denver Post, but if our way of being is one of joy or happiness, communion, you name the word, that can influence. I've seen it. That can influence more than any of the doingness that we get so wrapped up in. Less on the doing, more on the being. I want to wrap things up by saying I fall short a lot. My husband can tell you, am I not approaching grumpy old man territory? I am. My coworkers will tell you, I have become kind of a grumpy old man. So it's a practice. Finding your way of being, working on your way of being, committing to it, understanding that your way of being actually is impacting the world. And I want to tell a quick story about what really got to me. It was a challenging test for me. During the insurrection, I was on the air. And again, I never let any of my personal opinions out on the news. It's not my job. There was one guy in particular that just really stuck in my craw. Oh my God, I was so mad at this guy. I couldn't contain my rage. It was the shaman. Now, I'm assuming most of you might remember this guy. He called himself the shaman. He had the big buffalo head and the horns, and he was there in our capital. I was so mad at him. The things I saw him doing, the violations, the violence, the brutality. I was just frankly pissed at the shaman. And I happened to be going through a Course in Miracles at the time. So I went to one of my teacher mentors and I said, look, I got to do something. I want to rage tweet. I want to say something on TV. This guy's gone too far and using the name shaman while doing it. She told me there is something you can do. Just try it. Go inside yourself and see where in you you're violent, you're disrespectful, you're brutal, you're righteous. Find that shaman in you. Forgive it. Forgive it. Let it go and see what happens. Which is what I did. I did not get on TV and condemn the shaman. So, time passes, and the shaman goes to court. And in his sentencing, this is a direct quote from the guy that I hated. In retrospect, says the shaman, this is court record, in retrospect, I would do everything differently. On January 6th. I would try with all my heart and soul to stop people from violence. I want to grow and go beyond what it is that I was. This is the same dude that I was ready to take down. In fact, what I found interesting, the judge in this case, and again a direct quote, the judge says, this is the most remarkable thing I've heard in my 34 years on the bench. Akin to the type of thing Martin Luther King might have said. Did I make the shaman change his ways? I don't know. Probably not. But did I do anything? No. I just worked on my way of being and trusted the universe was going to figure the rest of the crap out, and it did. And it did. And if I can do that with the shaman and find that it's the grace that he showed, the change that he brought, maybe it's less about the doing and more about the being, your way of being. I've seen it over and over and over again. So I'll wrap it up just by asking, what is your way of being? I'm in recovery. I've been in recovery many years, and we say it's an honest inventory. No judgment, but honestly, what is your way of being? Is it joy? Is it happiness? Is it peace? Is it love? Is it regret? Is it anger? Is it frustration? Is it bitterness? I think it all starts with us figuring out where we are, first of all. What is our way of being? And what do we do with that? Because, like it or not, your vibes are going out in the universe. Your way of being is impacting other human beings. That's for sure. My way of being is not the end point to change the world. I still read crap news every single day. I've done it for 30 years. I will likely do it until the day I retire. I may not be changing the news, but I have seen that my way of being can change people. People who are in the hospital, who are hurting, who need healing. And if we all do that together, the light shines all that much brighter. The signal is easier to receive. I want to close out by reading a passage from The Untethered Soul, which is a book I do highly recommend. It's really cool. And I think it says it better than anything else. In talking about your way of being. If you decide that you're going to be happy from now on for the rest of your life, you will not only be happy, you will become enlightened. Unconditional happiness is the highest technique there is. You don't have to learn Sanskrit, you don't have to read scripture, you don't have to renounce the world. You just have to really mean it when you say you choose to be happy. And you have to mean it regardless of what might happen out here. This is a truly spiritual path. And it is as direct and sure a path to awakening as any that could possibly exist. I hope your way of being is happy, joyous, loving. If it isn't, you're in the right place, because we work on our way of being every Sunday. And I hope if you're up at an ungodly hour, 4:30, on Channel 2, you'll wake up with me. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Chris. So this next piece I'm going to play, as I said, is a much more celebratory piece. This is by Fritz Kreisler, who was a kind of world-class violinist from the early 1900s. And so this is a piece, and it's sort of in the style of a Baroque kind of older piece, but it's a little modernized. So I hope you enjoy it. This is called Tempo di Minuetto.
This is a poem by Mary Joy Harder. Don't bother the earth spirit. Don't bother the earth spirit who lives here. She is working on a story. It is the oldest story in the world, and it is delicate, changing. If she sees you watching, she will invite you in for coffee. Give you warm bread, and you will be obligated to stay and listen. But this is no ordinary story. You will have to endure earthquakes, lightning, the death of all you love, the most blinding beauty. It's a story so compelling you will never want to leave. This is how she traps you. See the stone finger over there? That is the only one who will ever escape. And just so you know, Joy Harjo was the poet laureate for 4 years for the United States. She's going to be in town in about 2 weeks at the Iowa School of Theology. And it's a big honor, and she is Native American and an amazing poet. So check her out. And I wanted to say another big round of applause for Evan. And, we may say that the piano music you heard was recorded, it was him. It was the ghost. I think it was the ghost playing piano. So this place is so haunted. What I would like to do now is ask folks to give in a way that helps keep the lights on. This is that time that we ask you, if you're old school, to dig deep into your pocketbook, wallet, purse. We love cash. It spends too. If you're a little more modern than that, you have a QR code on your program that helps you to donate. There is what's called a dip jar in the back where you can dip a credit card. You can also go online. Many folks choose the convenience of a monthly giving where you set up that it just auto drafts out of your bank account. That can also be done on the website. Because as beautiful and wonderful as this space is, it's a little old and it needs a little help. And we need your financial support. So nothing to be embarrassed about. It's part of what we need to keep these lights on. So we're passing that basket around to remind you that we need your support. It's all energy. And in fact, we have an affirmation that we do that we'd like folks to join us in. As we take up your collections. And we would appreciate if you could recite it with us. It's right up there. Let me find it online. The universe provides all that I need and all that I give. With great joy, I share my prosperity, planting seeds for a world I am helping manifest. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. And now what we'd like to open it up to is what we call prayers of the people. Affirmative prayer is a big part of what we believe in at Althea, and that is that prayer is powerful, and especially prayer together with intent. And one of the things we like to offer up is right here every Sunday. If someone has a special prayer that they would like to share, it might be in your own life, it might be someone you know who has a surgery or is going through something. Know also that we have a form online. If you'd rather keep this more private, you can do that. And then we also have something called prayer partners, which I'll be talking about in the announcements, where you can actually sit with someone after service and pray with them. So we have microphones ready to go. Does anyone have a prayer? And we also like to hear how prayers from past Sundays turned out, if you want to share that. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the divine. So, who wants to go first with a prayer request? Oh, Luis.
So tomorrow, Denver Public Schools teachers begin their building. So our prayer that this coming week be purposeful and exciting and inspiring for teachers. May whatever gets done in the classroom gets done. May it all be enough, and may it all be done with love and peace.
Amen. And Rick Kitzman is writing this all down because he will actually get together with prayer partners and they will put some energy behind this. Who else wants to go next? Who we got? Oh, right there.
I have three. My friend Bill, who broke his neck and prayed for a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, he's home recovering and doing better. And
Awesome.
thank you for his prayer. I volunteered at food pantry on Mondays, and our coordinator is going to the hospital tomorrow to have a stent put in his artery of his neck, a carotid artery. Pray that he will recover very well. And the last one, I had a prison ministry, and one of our clients, about 15 years, is experiencing a large cancer. I think it's prostate cancer, I'm not sure. One sends some prayers that he gets relief from that, and also that the governor finally reads his, I forget what it's called, asking to be, for his sentence to be lightened. And thank you for all the prayers.
And his name?
Oh, I'm sorry.
First name's okay.
David Hatcher.
Oh, there you go. All right, who else?
Who's the one who had cancer?
Who had cancer?
David Hatcher.
Oh, is he the one who's the prison system too?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yes, right here, down front. That's okay.
Prayers for all the little kids going back to school. I have grandgirls that are going there, mixed about being happy or
Yeah.
giving up their summer. So prayers for all of them.
Yes. And we parents got our prayers. Gotta get some of our free time back, especially those of us who work from home. I love my daughter, but I think so. All right. Anyone else? Anyone? Don't be shy. All right. Well, thank you very much for all of those. Now, before we wrap up, and the way we wrap up at Althea is that we will have a community song, a rousing community song. I think it's the Beatles, like a little spoiler alert. That will happen last. But I need to tell you folks about all of the things that are getting ready to happen. And there's so much, and I'll make it fun, I promise, because it's a whole page. And this is stuff that's happening today, this coming week, and this whole month of August into September. So hold on to your hats. Today, immediately after this, I mentioned prayer partners. Connie and Mike, raise your hands. They are your prayer partners. So if you are interested in sitting down with someone and praying with them in our historic library, I'm going to point a lot behind these walls. A lot happens behind that wall. Right after this service, go straight there and they will pray with you. And then we will have a deep dive at 12:30 with Chris. Chris is going to go. Are you able?
Sure.
Oh, dang. I'm sorry. I thought I asked you that before. Nothing like putting me on the spot. What the deep dive is, we try to do this with the speaker every Sunday, and around 12:30, he will take whoever wants to, a smaller facilitated group. He'll break into some small groups, but you'll get a chance to dive deeper into this topic of good news, bad news, and being. So he'll be doing that with you, and we'll announce in the dining room, because also right after this, we have a lovely lunch. And it is free to first-timers. And I saw some folks come in after. If you're in the back and this is your first, there we go. So you get a flower. I think the flowers are there. So you get a flower. And if you're able to stay with us today and have lunch, it is on us. If you have to use that freebie lunch another time, you certainly can. But we would love for folks to stay and have lunch with us. It is always locally sourced, gluten-free options, vegan options, all the good stuff. And it is fresh and wonderful. And, how's this for a tie-in? It is done every other Sunday by Chef Matthew Quigley, who also does every Sunday at 2 o'clock a 90-minute journey of breathwork, music, and yoga right here at Althea. So you can find out about that. He does it every Sunday. What is coming up this week? Okay, y'all. Tuesday night, come here at 5 o'clock, have a margarita or a cold cerveza or a non-alcoholic beverage on us. just to say we love you, let's get happy, and we'll talk to you a little bit about what I call special teams. Everyone hates the word committee. Special teams. We have so many cool things going on that we need your help, and we're going to make it as fun as a happy hour all the time. That is my guarantee to you. Do you want to be part of researching who the next spiritual director of Althea is, having a say in that? Come talk to us. Do you want to brainstorm ways that we could reach out to our neighbors in our community and bring more folks in the door? Show up. Do you want to be part of cool things like centennial celebrations and music festivals? I talked about a seance. I'm not going to tell you what that means, but I've talked about that. Do you want to be part of making that cool stuff happen? Come have a margarita with us. If you can't, and that's this Tuesday. And everything I'm going to tell you about, including special teams and which ones we need your help with, it's all in the back there. There are places to sign up. And if you can't find it, go to the website. There are ways to sign up. And if that doesn't work, you can come ask any of us you see in the dining room, because we can tell you more. What's also going on, this week we launched our 100-year, $100,000 fundraising campaign. That is how bold we are. It's going to go through the end of the year. It's going to raise the funds necessary to, oh my Lord, look up at that ceiling. Look at that ceiling, and just don't look at the carpet. Just don't do it. But we're going to raise money so that you would happily look at the carpet. We love you, carpet, but I think you've been here since the 50s. And nothing against that, and some of the people sitting in this room have as well. But we still need some new carpet. So, that's another thing that's going on. Community connections are every Thursday. This is on Zoom with Kathy Humphreys. It's a discussion on Zoom where they take on a topic and also dive deep into that. Tuesday night, starting not this coming Tuesday, but the next, Aaron Kestelut will be leading a new discussion group in person, 6 weeks, limited to only 8 people. He wants this to be very personal. And so that's going to start on August 23rd at 7 o'clock. This is going to be called Some Thoughts About Our Power. So there you go. Did you know that we have a gong bath on the 4th Sunday of every month? Who knows what a gong bath is? Who knows what it is to be bathed in gong vibrations? If you don't, you need to come. The next one will be August 28th. That happens to be a Sunday as well. That happens to be at 12:30, so you're going to be here anyway. Saturday, August 27th. I'm getting so close to the end, y'all. Poria Montazari is going to tell you the origins of the Enneagram. It's Sufi. There's another spoiler alert. It's going to have the Sufis involved in it. And on August 27th, I'm signed up from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We feed you lunch. Yes, there is a cost to this. It is a class. That's going to be happening here Saturday, August 27th. And Poria, he is a Rumi poet, scholar, if you know Rumi the poet. Poria is doing an 8-week course starting September 27th about the sacred poetry and teachings and the portals into spirituality that takes you. That is going to be amazing. Never done in this part of the United States. It's a big deal. But if you remember nothing else, remember that next Sunday is New Member Sunday. If you are not a member, if you want to find out about becoming a member of Althea, you can talk to us about this and fill out this application. We'll have these in the back. Even if you cannot be here physically next Sunday for the ceremony, and we're going to have gifts and cool things to give you, so you should try. It's okay. Talk to us. We'll let you know how you can still become a member and be part of the next cool ceremony. And we also encourage you to attend the 9:45 orientation that'll happen next Sunday before the service starts. And if you can't make that orientation, talk to us. Again, we are flexible. We want you to feel part of this community. So don't let anything hold you back. But that's coming up, and it's a big deal because we haven't had one in a really long time. So, I know it's a lot of information. Don't sweat it. Again, find one of us, look in the back, look on the website. So many cool things. What I'd like to do next is, first I'd like to thank you for being here. Wonderful to have you. We're going to have Connie Carter come up and give a closing prayer to get us all back under the spell of what this day is about, and then we will wrap it up with a community song. So thank you all.
we decided not to disappear behind the podium. There are, times when being calm is, wonderful. But I don't get to experience those. So I want to take this opportunity to just take a breath and to allow all that we have heard, all that we have felt, all that we are experiencing, to just be present as we move within and to feel the power of that one life, that one truth, that one awareness that we may know as God, as life, as love. And it's in that awareness that we have the choice to be that which we were created to be that power, to be that light, and to allow that beingness to open our world to peace, to harmony, to joy, to wonder, to abundance, to the fulfillment of all that we desire. And so as we let that settle in, as we feel that presence, that power, and we make the choice to show up as that, our heart is filled, our world is at peace, and we can say with certainty that it is good and very good. And so we
Good morning. Please stand as you're able and join me in our community song this week, Let It Be. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. 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 Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let
Are you gonna? Yes, I'm going to travel with the Parente-Rios. I know.